Yo, take a look at this. You may never see something like this again. This is the Lifetime Achievement Award of the Science Fiction Writers of America. That's the professional organization of science fiction writers. SFWA was founded in 1965. It was founded by Damon Knight, the motivating influence, and its first vice president, that's me. You're looking at him. I resigned in 1977 from SFWA because I couldn't stand any more amateur arguments about what color the club tie should be. They began giving out the nebulas in 1965, but a few years later they started giving out the Lifetime Achievement Award. This Lifetime Achievement Award is the one that belonged to Alfred Bester. It's been entrusted to me, and I'll keep it till there's an Alfred Bester museum or something. The problem with it, giving it to Alfie, was, though he was a great, great writer, Demolished Man, The Star's My Destination, Alfie never lived to get it in his hands. They gave it to him on his deathbed. It was pushed through at the very last moment when he was just clinging to life. And that's what's happened too often to too many great writers in this field. Because there was a rule, a bylaw, a strange, weird rule that somebody put together and said you could only give out 6 Lifetime Achievement Awards every decade. 6 every decade. Why this rule came up, I don't know. I suppose somebody thought it would make the award seem much more valuable, much more mystical. After somebody's been writing for 30, 40, 50 years, it's going to make it more valuable. How about this man? How about Paul Anderson? Here's a man who's been writing since the late 40s, for God's sakes. Here's a man who has written 127 books, Paul Anderson. Paul Anderson is 68 years old. That's a fine piece of age, 68 years old. How about this? Bob Sheckly. Bob Sheckly, one of the most influential writers of the 50s and 60s, a great humorist, a terrific writer. He's a punk. He's only 66 years old. And what about Kate Wilhelm? She's also a punk, 66 years old. Kate Wilhelm, 3 dozen books, each one more brilliant than the last one. Kate Wilhelm, by the way, only one of the 12 people who's ever gotten the Lifetime Achievement Award was a woman. And now we come to the grand old master himself, A.E. Van Vogt, Alfred E. Van Vogt. In 1930s, in the 1940s, if there had been a Lifetime Achievement Award, A.E. Van Vogt would have gotten it before Asimov. He'd have gotten it before Clark. He'd have gotten it before Bradbury. A.E. Van Vogt was one of the most influential and important writers that we had. He wrote Slan. Slan remains today the best book about mutants you've ever read. This kid, Jommy Cross, trying to run away from the purges. And the world of Null-A. Van Vogt brought non-Aristotelian thinking into the genre. He used general semantics as an idea for a novel. The Voyage of the Space Beagle. A.E. Van Vogt was a writer whose work was seminal. He went away in the 50s. He got involved with Dianetics, and he wasn't around for 20 years, and he came back, and he was badly agented, and nobody seems to remember him now. And because he was away and because he was involved with Dianetics for a while, it seems as if no one wants to give him this award. Well, I'm here to tell you, folks, that I've been trying for 2 years to get SFWA to give A.E. Van Vogt the award. And they say, well, Van should get it. Yes, of course, but Paul Anderson hasn't gotten it. Kate Wilhelm hasn't gotten it. Ursula Le Guin hasn't gotten it. What about Bob Sheckly? Yeah, I agree. Paul, Bob, Kate, they ought to have it. Ursula, she's in young, fine fettle. So is Silverberg, so are any number of other good writers. This rule, which I understand is no longer even in the bylaws, is something that has hung SFWA up, and it prevents them from doing the decent, humane thing. It's not just that A.E. Van Vogt is very old and very sick and may not be with us for an awful long time. It is that it is his due. He did the work. These people are of an advanced age. If you're going to say to them, we appreciate what you did, if you're going to say we think that you are masters, now is the time to do it. You don't have 2, 3, 5 years to have a popularity contest. Let's give it to Paul this year. Let's give it to Kate next year. Let's give it to Van 4 years down the line. There isn't any time left. There's no time left to do this. I talk to you now, and I'm not making any friends for myself. In fact, I probably have lost for myself the friendship of the outgoing president of SFWA, Joe Haldeman, because I brought this up in a recent banquet and business meeting of SFWA up in Oregon. This was raised, and they couldn't talk about the rightness of doing it, of giving out these awards, of getting rid of the rule, or bending the rule, or putting the rule in abeyance, which you can do. Any rules that people make can be put aside. They're just words. No, they didn't want to talk about that. They wanted to talk about how I was blackmailing them. They wanted to talk about how I was coercing them. And I was warned, I was threatened. They told me, don't go on television with this. You'll only do more harm than good. How much harm more can I do? The awards are not being given. No one's talking about it. Nothing's being done. I'm not asking anybody to put any pressure on SFWA. I'm asking SFWA itself to have a heart. To have a heart and do the right thing. These are awards that are due. No one will argue with that. All that stands in the way are words. Change the words.